Wow, this is Canada, never too shy to do the hard work. Canada is pulling into two directions right now, and it's doing it on purpose. On one track, Ottawa is racing to diversify trade, upgrade our ports and rebuild our military backbone, securing our sovereignty. On the other hand, Canada is openly defying Washington by helping Cuba, as the US tries to starve it. Today we are dividing this story into four sections. First, the pivot. Canada's global trade push into the Indo-Pacific. Second, the build-up. Ports, bases, submarines, and why speed suddenly matters. Third, the blockade. Cuba's economic freefall under US pressure. And fourth, the defiance. Why Canada and Mexico are stepping in anyway. And what that means for Cuba, for us and for Europe. This isn't academic, my friends. This is about power, food, fuel, and who decides who get to breathe. This Canadian moment has been coming for a long time. Prime Minister Mark Carney is leading a 9-day trade mission through India, Australia and Japan. Not a photo op tour, a necessity tour. Evidently, Canada's economy has leaned too hard on one customer for far too long. And when that customer starts threatening tariffs, seizures or political punishment, well, Canada adjusts. And this isn't just about money, it's about leverage. And Canada is building just that. That matters not just for us, but also for our partners in Europe, who are also trying to lessen their dependence on unpredictable US policy swings. Here's the part that people miss. You can't diversify trade if you can't physically move goods or protect the routes that carry them. Canada is now upgrading ports, expanding naval bases and accelerating defense procurement at a pace we haven't seen in a decade. Submarines, frigates, radar systems, housing for forces, all at once. Why the push? Because trade without security is just hope. And hope doesn't survive blockades. Canada is repositioning itself as a serious middle power. A bridge between Europe and the Indo-Pacific. Canada is becoming a country that can ship, defend and decide. For the EU and other potential trading partners, that matters. They need reliable partners that aren't dragged around by Washington domestic policies. A stronger, better connected Canada gives Europe another anchor in a rough Atlantic. And while Ottawa expands its reach, it's also drawing a line, quietly but firmly, against something else. So now it's time to talk about Cuba. Right now, Cuba is facing a serious economic collapse. Food shortage, fuel shortage, power outages. Hospitals are inoperational. And why? Well, that isn't a mystery anymore. The United States has effectively imposed an oil embargo. Shipments from Venezuela and Mexico are being choked off. Countries that try to step in are threatened with retaliation. Please guys, look at the big picture here. No fuel means no transport. No transport means no food distribution. And no food means desperation. Humanitarian groups can even move aid. Once it arrives in Cuba, trucks don't run, generators sit idle, hospitals are partially or completely shut down. For Cubans, this isn't about politics. It's about food or starvation. It's about deciding whether to stay or leave the country that they love. Let's be blunt. Many in the Caribbean see the US policy as an attempt to manufacture a humanitarian disaster to force regime change in Cuba. Not through ballots, through hunger. American companies are not allowed to sell Venezuelan oil, but only to Cuba's private sector. The state is cut out. The pressure remains. The message is clear. Submit or suffer. Caribbean leaders have called for de-escalation, pragmatic engagement and protection for ordinary people instead of punishment. Response from Washington? More pressure. This is where Canada jumps off the fence. And Canada follows Mexico's example. That's real help. But that help struggles to reach the people because the needed fuel simply isn't there. Canada joins Mexico in providing humanitarian aid, pledged $8 million in food aid, despite the risk from Washington. Not because we agree with Cuba's system, but because starving civilians is never a legitimate policy. For a Canadian perspective, this hits close to home. No country, none, has the right to force regime change on another. That right belongs only to the citizens themselves. Yet for decades, Washington has acted as if that rule doesn't apply to them. The result? In Europe, the old label is back now. The ugly American. Loud, coercive, unmistakable American. While Donald Trump ransacks Venezuela resources, undermines Ukrainian defense by empowering Russia, backs Netanyahu to commit genocide against Palestinians in Gaza, and now squeezes Cuba, Canada chooses a different lane. For the European Union, that matters. Europe is watching who stands up for the rules and who treats power like a club. Canada's position strengthens its credibility as a partner that won't fold the moment Washington snaps its finger. And yes, there may be consequences. Diplomatic frictions, economic pressure, maybe worse. But the alternative is silence. And silence is approval. And that is just not an option for Canadians. So what does it mean for Cubans, for Canada, for Europe? For Cubans, Canadian aid won't fix everything, but it keeps people alive. It buys time. It signals that you haven't been abandoned. For Canada, this is a statement of independence. Trade diversification abroad, moral clarity at home. A country that can say no without shouting. For Europe, it's reassurance. Reassurance that not every North American nation is sliding back into 1917-style economic warfare and imperial thinking. And for the world, it's a sign that reliable middle power countries now matter more than ever. So here's today's question for you. Should Canada keep standing up even when it costs us? Or should we stay quiet and safe while Trump decides who eats and who doesn't? If this video gave you value, please like and subscribe to the channel. For more cleared-eye reporting on what matters for Canada and where the future might lead us. Humanitarian aid should never be used as a bargain chip, and Canada's trade pivot will make us stronger and secures our sovereignty. Tell me in the comments, does Canada go far enough or not far enough? This story isn't over, not even close. Thanks for watching. I'm Wilfried Lemkoller with Europe Curious. See you in the next one.